is moving in here shortly. And this tornado warning, as we just mentioned, it does go until 7:30. After it passes, we will give you the all clear. But for now, if you are in this community and in this red area, you need to get to your safe spot. I'm going to step off the screen real quick. Holly, why don't you put radar back on real quick? I just want to check in with our chat system here to see if we have any new information. It doesn't look like we have anything in regards to the tornado warning, which is some really good news. Again, this is radar indicated rotation, but we still are seeing so many tree damage reports. The latest one is from Evansville and Rock County. You know, there's a tree blocking an intersection. It looks like maybe just off of Highway 14, Union Street, if you're familiar with that area. So even as this line continues to move eastward throughout the rest of southeast Wisconsin, and maybe we can work on putting a track on that, Holly, if you're able, moving at about 40 miles per hour, you can see pretty much to the east-northeast, but just put that easterly track on there. As it continues to move eastward, we're going to need to watch, that chance for some really strong wind out of this, because a lot of our reports across Rock County and towards the west, even, an hour ago, were over 70 miles per hour. We've seen a lot of tree damage reports, so that's also going to be a possibility. So if this continues to maintain its speed here, you can see places like Lake Geneva, maybe just after 7:20, Waukesha, and points Geneva, maybe just after 7:20, Waukesha, and points towards the east. There's a lot of people out right now, and for good reason, absolutely. But the sooner you can get back to your safe spot, the better. You've got a little bit more time, though, of course. So maybe closer to about 7:40 for Waukesha, Milwaukee just before 8 o'clock. And because we're starting to see that Boeing signature with this line, again, indicating the potential for strong wind, a lot of times it also picks up speed a little bit. So if it maintains its speed, this is a really good track. If it speeds up a little bit more, it's going to come in a little bit quicker. So now really is the time to get, back to your cars, back to your safe spot, and especially if we end up continuing to see this potential for tornadoes. Let's go back to the warning map, Holly, just to give everybody, again, a reminder. If you're just now tuning in, there is still a tornado warning until 7:30 for southwestern and south central portions of Jefferson County. It does also extend into northern Rock County. So that main rotation was actually in northern Rock County. It also, cuts into a sliver of southeastern Dane County as well. So this is technically tracking up towards the northeast, and we're looking at the area of rotation when I say what's actually moving towards the northeast. Let's put velocity back up on the screen so we can kind of go through and see if that is still on there. Looking really, that Evansville area to south of Edgerton, near Janesville, where we had some of that really strong wind damage. We're looking at a lot of these bright colors for more so that strong straight line wind. We did earlier, just towards the northeast of Janesville, have that area of rotation. It's not as prominent right now. Maybe we can zoom in just a little bit more, Holly, specifically to southwestern Jefferson County, now that we're at least seeing, the leading edge of some of that strong wind making its way over the lake there, and then especially out towards the west and parts of Dane County, that is likely going to be some really strong straight line wind, that potential for 70 plus mile per hour wind. I'm not seeing super notable rotation right now, which is some good news, but still with that potential for over 70 mile per hour wind gusts. You're going to want to stay inside until this warning expires. And all of this area is tracking up towards the northeast. So, technically up next, Jefferson, you're going to want to get to your safe spot. Really the rest of central and, north central and northeastern parts of Jefferson County as this just continues to track up here towards the northeast. It'll be interesting to see this main area here after it passes the lake to potentially see, if that weakens it or if we stay on the strong side. And just really notable scans here on velocity showing some of that really strong wind across Dane County. That too, is moving up towards the north. Let's go back to reflectivity, our main radar here, and take a look at this line as it continues to track out towards the east, moving again about 40, we'll say 45 miles per hour, passing through northern Rock County and starting to inch its way into southwestern Jefferson County. This line is not only capable of producing some of these really quick spin-up tornadoes, but also that possibility for some very strong wind as it continues to move off towards the east. Let's broaden the view even more, Holly. A lot of spots are still dry right now, including Milwaukee and Waukesha up to West Bend. Looks like we have just some shower activity from Beaver Dam up into Fond du Lac, but that's no issue here. Really, the main strong part of this line is from Madison south into northern Illinois. So we really are looking at the Interstate 94 corridor and points towards the south for, number one, the tornado threat, and number two, just the strongest storms in general. That being said, up towards the north, you're still going to get in on some of this heavy rainfall. So it's still a possibility that flash flooding could be a risk. And again, it's just now moving into some of our viewing area. So places like Waukesha and Milwaukee, you still have another 30 minutes to an hour before it actually reaches you. That's good lead time to get home, to get to your safe spot. The only exception to that is going to be some of these southern communities, and these are not severe thunderstorms right now, but this is new development in northern Illinois that's tracking up towards the north here. So parts of Kenosha and soon to be Racine County, you are going to see some non-severe thunderstorms faster than you're going to see this line out towards the west. Going to step off screen real quick here, check in with our chat system again. Holly, doesn't really look like there's anything new from the National Weather Service, but we still also have a couple of different severe thunderstorm warnings. Why don't we go back to the warning map and zoom out a little bit to see what we have here primarily across central, south central portions of our viewing area. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings extending from Madison really all the way down to Rockford. And yet let's go out towards the west a little bit more. Let's talk about those green boxes because those are the flash flood warnings. So they are primarily across southwestern counties right now, as well as eastern parts of Iowa. I mentioned earlier that right as the severe weather rolled through, it was very quick that the flash flood warnings were then issued as well because of the torrential rain that comes along with some of these storms. And that's going to be a possibility here locally as well. So not only, again, are we looking at strong wind as well as that tornado threat, but also the possibility here of some very heavy rain. All right, we have a new warning. So let's zoom in a little bit more, Holly, into Waukesha County specifically. They're starting to warn out ahead of this storm system now, and the National Weather Service has been doing this all afternoon. It's for lead time, which is fantastic. So this new warning here extended, it's a severe thunderstorm warning too, so that's some good news. And I think it's more so because a lot of that rotation has weakened that prompted the original tornado warning for Jefferson County. So we'll keep an eye on that. It does still continue until 7:30, so we'll stay with you until then. But notice how we have this new severe thunderstorm warning into southeastern parts of Jefferson County, as well as southwestern parts of Waukesha County as well. That goes until 7:45, and really the headline with this is that 70-mile-per-hour wind speed. So the thunderstorm damage threat here is considerable, and the National Weather Service started putting these tags in all of the warnings. They're impact-based warnings, so when the wind is going to be so strong, it'll have a more meaningful tag, if that makes sense. So a considerable threat here when it comes to that strong wind. And it does not look like it says tornado possible. So that's some good news too. A lot of times when there is still the possibility for a tornado, they will add that to the bottom of the warning as well. So I don't see that. So that's some good news. But once again, we have that tornado warning for southwestern and south central parts of Jefferson County until 7:30. We're just crossing over 7 o'clock here. So we do still have some time. And then that new warning that has been pushed into parts of Waukesha County. Oh, and I left Walworth County out. Sorry about that. That continues until 7:45 as well. So two areas out ahead of that main line that have now been added to a severe thunderstorm warning for very strong wind. Let's go back to radar, Holly, and check in on where this is located or how fast this line is making its way on through. because again, we're seeing these warnings issued out ahead of this storm so that everybody can prepare for the potential of these really strong winds. Not quite to Walworth County just yet, but getting close to the border here, passing through Janesville as we speak, and that southwestern part of Jefferson County seeing the thick of this storm as we speak as well. Let's go back to the velocity scan, the storm relative velocity, Holly, and just zoom in just to double check and see how we're doing here. I think this is really just picking up on some strong straight-lined wind, although we may need to watch that little green just south of Lake Koshkonong there. Otherwise, a lot of this yellow, again, that's what's more so indicating some of that really strong wind. Fort Atkinson, you're going to feel this here shortly. It really is just knocking on your doorstep. And then as we look down towards the south just a little bit more, again, that's that area of the severe thunderstorm warning. That actually looks pretty good right now. Holly, let's go over to the base velocity just to check in on some of those strong winds. It's basically the same thing, you know, where you're seeing some of these really bright colors. That's indicating, again, look at this is moving right on into southwestern Jefferson County. That's more so indicating some of that really strong straight line wind. So I can't stress enough the potential for tree damage, power outages because of some of these strong wind gusts that we could potentially see as these roll on through. Let's go back to radar and broaden the view real quick. Take a look at some of these cells out towards the east here. Kenosha, a lot of lightning, some heavy rainfall out of this. Otherwise, I'm not seeing any areas of concern just yet. Up towards the north, again, that rain continues from Beaver Dam into Fond du Lac. Also, really no issues there. We're really just watching this line as it slowly works its way eastward. Let's put a track on this again, Holly, just to double check to see that it's doing okay. Give a refresher for everybody if you're just now tuning in. We're on right now because there is still an active tornado warning across Jefferson County. As this continues to move up towards the east, everything looks pretty on track here. Again, Lake Geneva, this is going to move in, I'd say, in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Closer to the lakeshore, though, Milwaukee is on there closer to about 8 o'clock. That'll be the same story for the rest of the southern lakeshore, too. Waukesha, you are probably going to feel this here in also the next 20-30 minutes. So semi-similar to the Lake Geneva area as it is continuing to make its way out towards the east. Let's see if the National Weather Service has anything new for us. I do see a picture, it looks like from the from Fort Atkinson, excuse me. Really nice. It looks like a shelf cloud making its way on through, which makes sense because this is a line. And a lot of times as we see these squall lines rolling through, they are going to produce a shelf cloud. Another video, let's see, from the Madison area. Madison Mets have been doing so great out there, watching pretty incredible cells that popped earlier. So thankfully, that's going to stay away from us. So that's some good news there. But yes, in the meantime here, we are still watching this line of storms as it continues to make its way off towards the east. Let's go back to the watches and warnings map. And if possible, Holly, let's put the watch on there too, because we do have a tornado watch for the southern half of our viewing area. That was issued a couple hours ago, and that's the yellow that you see here. So that does include Jefferson, Waukesha, Milwaukee County, Racine, Kenosha, as well as Walworth County. And that technically goes until 11 p.m. Now, I do think the worst of this is going to be out of here by maybe even 9 or 10 p.m. So the watch itself will likely be allowed to expire a little bit early. I think it's really from now until about 8:30, 9 o'clock that we're going to be watching the strongest part of this line rolling on through. Now, overnight tonight, still going to see some rain, but this is by far the strongest of what we will see throughout the next couple of hours. The pink that you see, that's a severe thunderstorm watch, so that's out towards the west. We are just, all eyes on this incoming squall line as it does have the possibility of producing these brief spin-up tornadoes as it continues to work its way off towards the east. You can see the latest warnings again, southwestern Waukesha County into southeastern Jefferson and Walworth. That warning goes until 7:45, and the tornado warning itself for parts of southern Jefferson County goes until 7:30. So we do still have some time on that. Let's go back to velocity, Holly, and just go back and take another look as we are still monitoring this area. Thankfully, it seems to be okay for now, but the history of these lines is that we could continue to just see brief spin-ups here or there. And Jeff, I just heard you in my ear. Do we have a camera? Is that what you mentioned? Oh, thank you so much. Our producer, Jeff, actually, great information. This is such a busy outdoor event weekend. The Jefferson County Fair is actually happening as we speak. So my guess is that they are in the process of evacuating. If you know someone, a loved one, a friend that is there, make sure they know that this storm is on its way in as we speak. It has the capability of producing brief spin-up tornadoes and very strong damaging wind. You are not going to want to be outside as this line makes its way on through. And we'll put it out there. I know Milwaukee's dry right now. Harley Fest, it's a big, big night. I understand that. We still have a little bit more time. Again, this line will start to roll in closer to about 8 o'clock, maybe 7:50, 8 o'clock. But this is good lead time. If you're able to, end what you're doing, get inside until the strongest part of this line rolls through, and then, go back out when it's safe. That would be my suggestion, because even as this continues to move eastward, it's going to have the capability of still producing some of this strong wind. We'll watch for signs of weakening. We're not quite seeing it just yet. And keep in mind that Milwaukee was one of the spots that did end up seeing that front get very, very close. We didn't quite reach 80, but our temperatures did soar a little bit more. So I do think we're a little bit unstable still in the Milwaukee area. Still a ways away, though, so we'll continue to watch it. But our primary focus right now is where you're seeing some of these bright colors. So once again, west central Jefferson County down into south central parts. And this is tracking towards the northeast. I would say right now we really got to watch for that strong straight lined wind. But earlier there was some rotation in Rock County, especially near Janesville, as well as the Evansville area. And really, as this is looped, you can almost tell there's just a small little brief, right as it's crossing the interstate there in that scan, probably, 5-10 minutes ago, there was almost a tiny little area of rotation there. And then out towards the west across Dane County, they've dealt with a lot of that so far today as well. Let's zoom things out a little bit, take more of a broader view here. I just want to check in on southern counties. You can really pick up on velocity too. This line that's about to make its way in, or is basically into western parts of Walworth County. So that's going to be some pretty strong wind there as well. Let's go back over to velocity and take a look at this line as it continues to move on in, or excuse me, reflectivity, Holly, I'm so sorry, as it continues to move off towards the east, and just check in on where it's at. Let's zoom into, say, the Fort Atkinson area and just take a look.
80-mile-per-hour wind gust 2 minutes ago.
And where was that at?
That's in Fort Atkinson.
In Fort Atkinson, 80-mile-per-hour wind gust in Fort Atkinson. That was all of those bright colors that you were seeing showing up on our velocity scans. And if we could just pause the radar real quick, Holly, I think this is a really good viewing of some of the kinks that we see, at least on reflectivity. The good news is that I didn't really see any specific areas of rotation on our velocity scans, but you can see the bowing structure of this as this continues to make its way through Fort Atkinson. 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts is something to take very seriously. That can absolutely do some significant damage. A lot of times, our weaker tornadoes are very comparable when it comes to that strong of wind. So even though it's not rotating wind, it's coming in with the squall line. That's when you're going to see trees snapped or trees uprooted in a line. That's how you know that that's going to be straight line wind damage. When it's rotation, there's still a lot of damage. It's just all over the place. But still, this is something to take very seriously. The rest of Jefferson County under that severe thunderstorm warning, it's for this very strong wind. So if I were you, I would treat it like a tornado warning and still stay in your safe spot, because that is not wind that you want to play with. So right now, again, this is extending from, we'll say, west central parts of the county, Jefferson County, all the way down into Rock County, but right on the border of Walworth. So this is just about to cross into Walworth County. We still have some time for the rest of the area. So I would say get inside, stay inside, Waukesha down to Lake Geneva. Milwaukee, we still have a little bit more time. In fact, likely 45 minutes to an hour, so still some prep time there. Let's zoom things out a little bit more, Holly, and take a look at what else we have across the area. You'll notice north of that line, there really is not much. This lines up perfectly with where that tornado watch is located.
Severe thunderstorm warning for Waukesha, Dodge, and Jefferson. So they're just continuing to extend those thunderstorm warnings.
Awesome. Let's go back to the warning map then and go through what we have. And I can already see here that is for the potential of winds of 70 miles per hour. So they're just going to continue to warn the northern edge of this line, maybe starting to take more of that northeasterly turn. But you can see places like Watertown included in this. Now we've got northwestern parts of Waukesha, say the Oconomowoc area, very close to some of this as well. So that new warning does go until 8 o'clock. So Fort Atkinson, again, still under that tornado warning, but that'll soon be replaced with the rest of this severe thunderstorm warning for some of that strong wind. And this is continuing to make its way. As you can see that they're warning up towards the north, maybe more of an east-northeasterly type of movement here. So that does still mean, you know, southern Dodge, probably southern Washington County too, eventually might still get in on this line of storms. Let's go back to reflectivity, if we can, Holly, and just check in once again with how this storm is progressing. I just want to look at its movement again as it continues to make its way eastward or to the east-northeast. So this is looping over the last couple of hours. You can tell it's really this northern edge here that's starting to take more of that east-northeasterly movement, but the main line down to Janesville and into Rockford still looks like that's pushing primarily towards the east. So we're still going to watch this area for Walworth County as it continues to cross into the county. And then we also still have those non-severe thunderstorms working their way through Kenosha as well as Racine County as well. Let's zoom out and take a broader view of more so the state, if we can. Really distinct Boeing line here across our area. A lot of heavy rain and thunderstorm activity extending towards the north too. More will fill in towards the south. So once this main line, the leading edge of this storm system that is the strongest, once it clears our lakeshore communities, we're going to weaken things quite a bit throughout the night, but we could still have some lingering rain throughout our overnight hours. And then it is worth mentioning too, Saturday, we're going to have the cold front making its way through as well. So I do think there will be at least a brief period of time midday or into the afternoon where we will have a couple of thunderstorms passing their way on through parts of our area. So one more day of humidity tomorrow and another round of some thunderstorms, though the severe weather threat looks a lot lower than today, which is some good news. And then Sunday really is looking to be the pick day of the weekend with sunshine and lower humidity. All right, let's zoom in back to southeast Wisconsin. I mean, you can clearly tell where the strongest part of this line is located. It's pushing through the Fort Atkinson area as we speak. Still has a ways to go before it reaches that new severe thunderstorm warned area between Watertown and, say, the Oconomowoc area, but it is moving on in. Now, is there a way, Holly, I'm going to step off actually, is there a way to put on our storm reports? Try this one right here. Awesome. Okay, and then go ahead and pan off towards the west a little bit. All of those little icons that you're seeing, that's indicating some strong wind. Holly, I don't know if you want to query some of those. These were obviously earlier this afternoon where these storms really strengthened as they moved through. But just a good example of some of the wind damage that we saw earlier that continues to be a possibility as this line makes its way on through. A lot of rain reports down towards the south. Those are actually from yesterday, which were pretty impressive storms south of the border yesterday. But a lot of these little icons here, oh, and there's a flash flood report from earlier too. I know we already talked about that potential going forward as well, though thankfully we have not seen any flash flood warnings issued just yet. This is going to also bring in very heavy rain. But a lot of these areas in southwestern parts of the state did see wind gusts over 70 miles per hour. I know earlier as this started in Iowa, I saw a lot of 60 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts, which is, more of your normal severe thunderstorm criteria, maybe a little above that. But once you get to those 70s and 80 mile per hour reports, that is an amplified, storm as it makes its way on through. All right, let's go back to our radar, check in on things, and then we'll take a look at velocity. Just want to check to see how the movement is going as this line makes its way on through. A lot of lightning in this as well. Pushing through once again, the Fort Atkinson area. Let's zoom in on northwestern Walworth County, Holly, if you can, just to see, more of a zoomed in view of how we're doing here. The rain is likely very heavy as it moves through places like Whitewater. It's probably going to be very loud, but the good news is that it's going to move in and out fairly quickly. Behind this is just going to be some heavy rainfall. But as far as the wind threat goes, it's really just on this leading edge of the storm as it works its way off towards the east. Passed through Janesville already, making its way into Walworth County as we speak. The Fort Atkinson area, it's just about to clear you guys. But places like Whitewater, you're dealing with it. Lake Geneva, you've got a little bit more time, and I know you're a bit more towards the south, but this is still a strong line, even southward to the border and into northern Illinois. Just take this seriously. Once again, 80 mile per hour wind gust, I believe in Fort Atkinson earlier, Holly, does that make sense?
Yes.
In Fort Atkinson earlier, that is nothing to play with there. Good track for you here. Places like Delavan in Walworth County, as you can see, maybe just after 7:20. Elkhorn just before 7:30. Lake Geneva, we'll say 7:35-ish. Places like Burlington just after 7:40. And then Waukesha closer to about 7:45. So really no changes here on speed and timing. It does seem to be moving at that same rate, which does mean likely around 8 o'clock, if not a little bit after, for the Milwaukee area and spots near Lake Michigan. Anything new in our chat system, Holly?
We're trying to see if they're going to be extending this tornado warning, or will they have it expiring right at 7:30. So we're waiting to hear back from the National Weather Service on the update on what they're going to do with the warning.
Okay, great. Why don't we go back to velocity, storm relative velocity, and just check to see what we're looking at here. That strong straight line wind really does continue to be the main threat. That's working its way northward too. So northern parts of Jefferson County, as well as just east of Fort Atkinson, you guys are going to be feeling this wind as we speak. Let's broaden the view just a little bit more. I do want to look down towards the south. The Madison area has been dealing with strong wind and heavy rain all afternoon for the most part. They had one cell that popped out ahead of this main line a couple hours ago, and it brought in a ton of rainfall. And it was just a couple of days ago that they also saw torrential rain as this made its way on through. So this is basically what we're watching for now. Again, that tornado warning goes until 7:30. It is 7:20 right now, so we do have about 10 more minutes on that. I'm not seeing anything notable when it comes to rotation. And even once the tornado warning expires, I just want to stress this is a very typical squall line rolling through our area. And we very often in situations like these, number one, deal with the straight line wind, but also see very brief spin up tornadoes. It's textbook for southeast Wisconsin. So it is still going to be a possibility as this works its way eastward that we're going to still need to watch for the potential of some brief spin up tornadoes, again, as this just works its way off towards the east, northeast. Let's go back to our watches and warnings map. Remember, we do still have that tornado watch that goes until 11 p.m. And that's for the southern half of our viewing area, so parts of Jefferson as well as Walworth, Milwaukee County, and then points down towards the south that we see this continuing until about 11. And that's everybody in yellow, so that does still extend out towards the west. Otherwise, spots earlier this afternoon that were under watches, those have been allowed to expire, which is some great news. So you can just tell after we see the worst of this line moving through, we will see these watches be canceled or expired, and we'll just have some of that lingering rain through the night tonight. So this is really the time frame through about 8:30, 9 p.m. that we need to be weather aware, and this is of course moving from west to east. But all the orange boxes that you see, these are the severe thunderstorm warnings that we have. So in our viewing area specifically, we have just far southern Dodge County, all of Jefferson County, parts of western Waukesha County, and then all of Walworth that continue until either 7:45 or 8 o'clock. And we will, I would assume, see some of these warnings pushed eastward as this storm moves a little farther towards the east. We've had a lot of really great lead time as these warnings have been put into effect a little early, just based off of the ground truth out towards the west, with all of those wind damage reports and just wind gust reports being over 70 miles per hour. Absolutely worth warning a little bit early so that everybody has the time to prepare. We have a lot going on tonight. Jefferson County Fair ongoing as we speak. My guess is that that is probably evacuated as of right now. And if you do have a loved one there or a friend, just make sure that they are safe and they know what to do as some of these storms are moving through. The Harley Homecoming event is tonight. We also have it, of course, tomorrow night and throughout the weekend. I promise there will be better weather, but in the meantime, in the next 30 minutes to an hour, we will see this eventually moving into the Milwaukee area too. So we got to watch that strength. And if you are outside at any other events, it's a Friday. I'm sure a lot of people are trying to be out and about. This is moving on in. So we still have a couple more hours of watching this. What did you say, Jeff, our producer? Harley is canceled. Okay, thank you. That is very helpful and probably a good call. I know it ruins a lot of the fun, but as we just talked about, can't play with some of these really strong winds that we do have ground truth from. Those 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts, that is significant and can really cause a lot of damage. Just stepping off screen real quick to check in with our National Weather Service chat system, where we get a lot of updates from. Seeing that wind gust report again from earlier in South Fort Atkinson of 80 miles per hour. That was just after 7 o'clock. That's just an incredible wind gust that we have seen. Otherwise, not really seeing anything new. It looks like there was some earlier chat of extending it or not extending these warnings. So kind of a wait and see there for the remainder of eastern Waukesha County. Talk to me again, Jeff. I need a Johnson Creek camera, I would assume that we have. This is one of our DOT cameras. It looks like Interstate 94 at Wisconsin 28. You can see the rain is coming down. It doesn't look too bad though, which is good. It looks like those cars are still moving at a decent rate here. You know, we've taken some of these DOT cams before where the rain is just whipping across the interstate and, you know, people have their flashers on. So it looks like all is good so far in this shot. But once again, main threats here, I think, going forward, I know we still have that tornado warning for a short time longer, 5 minutes more in Jefferson and far northeastern parts of Rock County. Just going to stress the wind damage potential.
They just expired.
The tornado warning?
The tornado warning.
Great. So that will go off of the screen now in 5 minutes. It just means it will expire at its time at 7:30. But I can't stress enough, as I was just mentioning, that potential for very strong wind as this continues to move through. So next step, again, just be prepared. You know, Waukesha, you're going to see this here in a little bit. Milwaukee, you're of course going to be up next. And that goes for the rest of the area down south into northern Illinois. We're all under this tornado watch, going to see this line rolling on through. No notable rotation at this point. It really is just that possibility for over 70 mile per hour winds. We could also see a little bit of hail, not really the main threat as this line rolls on through. And then the flash flooding potential also. I haven't heard of any rainfall reports, which is actually some great news, because earlier you can already see there are still some spots still under some of those flash flood warnings from earlier as this line moved through. They picked up over 2 inches of rain, some spots even over 3 inches of rainfall as this line rolled on through. So The heavy rain is still going to also be a possibility. Tornado watch, a reminder that goes until 11 p.m. I would not be surprised if even after 10 o'clock it was allowed to expire. A lot of lightning in this, a lot of heavy rainfall. It does look like the leading edge, though, is maybe getting a little more narrow, which is some good news. Maybe weakening pretty quickly right behind that leading edge. But whenever you see this bowing signature on radar, that's what we look at for the potential of that really strong wind, and in this case, over 70-mile-per-hour wind. So this is working its way through the rest of Jefferson County, so central and eastern Jefferson County. And remember, this northern part, this is tracking up towards the northeast. So this is going to clip far southeastern Dodge County, the Watertown area, and soon Washington County as well. A little bit more time on there. But we have a few more cities for you. Thank you, Holly, for putting this track up for you. Lake Geneva, closer to about 7:35 to 7:40, so not too long from now. You can see Waukesha, maybe 7:45 to 7:50. We've got West Dallas on there, close to 8 o'clock. Milwaukee just after, and if it maintains its strength as it moves northeast, yes, parts of Sheboygan County will see this as well. It may just not be warned. That being said, it is still likely going to produce some pretty heavy rainfall as it moves on through. I know it's starting to get a little darker, but maybe Jeff in the back, do any of our Milwaukee cams pick up on a shelf cloud or this line out towards the west? Okay, great. Checking on that. I know it's still a little far away, so we may not be able to see it just yet. But these lines, these squall lines, they do produce that really eerie looking shelf cloud. And we did see a picture of that when it was out west. So you may be starting to see that. That's a good indicator to get inside too. A good indication that we've got some strong storms moving into our area. It is 7:29, so that warning is about to expire. Let's broaden the view a little bit more. Take a look at the rest of radar. I do want to check in on some of these cells that have popped out towards the east from Racine and Kenosha County. It looks like they're starting to make their way into far southern Milwaukee County too. These are actually tracking back out over the lake too, so those really should not be an issue for too much longer, besides just bringing in that potential for some heavy rainfall. So this is the main event, this main line that has the history of producing 70 to 80 mile per hour straight line wind. A lot of tree damage. We've seen reports of trees, unfortunately, down on roadways, blocking roadways. If you're in this area and this has moved through already, just be careful if you're trying to step outside, or certainly if you're trying to travel, because then that could be an issue of some of the damage that it left behind that you're just not aware of yet. So be safe as you go out and actually look, around your house, or if you do have to travel, because we could still have some tree damage in these areas. Also, it looks like, just east of Madison too, this is almost a little loop here, as you can see. So there is still that strong wind east of Madison. That's lifting up towards the north, but if it does continue to take more of that northeasterly turn, then Dodge County will also get in on some of that strong wind. So we will watch, even though it's still near Madison, we'll watch kind of what's behind the main line as this wraps around a little bit. That's a pretty interesting signature that we're seeing right now. So this extends all the way down into western parts of Walworth County and then down into Illinois. This is moving east-northeast, will continue to impact our region until I'd say at least 8:30, 9 o'clock. After the strong part of the storm is done, we're still going to see lingering rain throughout our overnight hours, and then still that chance for a few thunderstorms heading into Saturday. This is our Estabrook Tower Cam looking towards the southwest, so that's a pretty cool shot. Remember, our Estabrook Tower Cam is a little bit higher, so we always fly over the clouds or over the fog. Most of the time when we take a look at this camera, it does look like you can see a little something far out towards the west, probably that shelf cloud, but we have a ways to go until that makes its way into the Milwaukee area. Let's go back to our watches and warnings map if we are able and just recap what we have there. I am happy that there are no flash flood warnings for our area. Just make sure you are aware of that. The tornado warning has expired. So we've crossed over 7:30. So that is some good news. Let's recap the warnings, and then I just want to double check. We'll head back to programming afterwards, but let's go through the rest of these warnings. So let's zoom in just a little bit more, Holly, and then maybe query the orange boxes just to go over what we have here and the official timing. Because again, even though the warning, tornado warning that is, has expired, we still could see very strong wind, and that's the reason why we still have severe thunderstorm warning. So we have the Watertown area, southern Jefferson County into eastern parts, or excuse me, western parts of Waukesha County. That goes until 8 p.m. and I believe Walworth also goes until 8 o'clock. The rest of Jefferson County, that is going to go until about 7:45. Let's query what we have here in southeastern Rock County real quick, just since I have you, because that's that also goes until 8 o'clock, I believe. Was that Walworth? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's more so, I think, because of that line, as it is just still producing pretty strong wind as it works its way off towards the east. The yellow is that tornado watch. It continues until 11 p.m. We need to watch this line very closely as it moves towards the east into Waukesha next, and then eventually Milwaukee, close to, if not just after the 8 o'clock hour, as this does have a history of producing very strong wind gusts over 70 and even close to 80 miles per hour. Take this line seriously. We will cut in again as necessary for severe thunderstorm warnings. And of course, if we do end up having another tornado warning, I don't want to downplay that either. As we talked about a couple of times, when we have these squall lines, we do end up seeing a lot of times very brief spin up tornadoes. So if a warning is put into place again, we will of course cut in. We will stay with you and give you all the information that you need. If you are under a severe thunderstorm warning, stay in place until your warning has expired, and everybody else out ahead of it, stay inside, because this is not going to be a fun storm to go through because of that strong wind and that heavy rainfall. That is the very latest from the Fox 6 Weather Office. Big thank you to my colleague meteorologist Holly Baker for working the radar for us. For now, let's get you back to programming. And